Okay, lesson 13, Introduction of Kriya Yoga, which is described starting from chapter 2, Sutra 21. First, why do we start in chapter 2, halfway? That has a very particular reason. Chapter 1 is the basis of yoga. We have done that informally, simply by the way that we have done the course so far. When we finish with Kriya, we will read chapter 1 in its entirety, because it has lots of additional interesting insights. Once you have laid the foundation with chapter 1, which includes asana and also yama and niyama, chapter 2 then introduces pranayama. So Sutra 1 of chapter 2 starts with pranayama. Pranayama is energy control. Many people think it's breath control, because that's easier to understand. We will come to that, lesson 19, when we introduce pranayama, because that is quite a long story in itself. Today we limit ourselves to Kriya. But chapter 2 starts directly with pranayama, but then you arrive at chapter 1, 21, which says, one who's flabby and phlegmatic should first, before the practice of pranayama, practice the 6 acts. Others who do not have these defects should not practice them, the 3 humors, wind, bile, and phlegm, being equally balanced in them. Now, if you don't understand much about yoga, this is all hocus pocus. And it doesn't carry any information that is of practical use. So let me break it down in practical language. Somebody who's flabby and phlegmatic is somebody who is still in a tamas condition. Somebody who is not sattvic, whose energy levels are still low, who does not possess vital energy yet in sufficient amounts. Meaning, your conditioning is not up to par yet. You need a little bit more preparation before you're ready for pranayama. So, in other words, if you are still in a tamas condition and lacking vital energy, you need to do the 6 acts before practicing pranayama. If you are not any more tamas and lacking vital energy, you do not practice them. The 3 humors, wind, bile, and phlegm, being equally balanced in you. What does that mean? You are sattvic. The 3 humors, wind, bile, and phlegm, if one of those is dominating and the others are lacking, there is no harmony in you yet. So, again, if you are still in a relative tamas condition and lacking vital energy, you need to do the Kriya exercises. If not, you don't have to practice them because you're already sattvic and brimming with vital energy. Sutra 22, these 6 acts, Kriyas, are named Dhauti, Vashti, Neti, Trataka, Nauli, and Kapalabhati. Now pay attention what happens now. Sutra 23. These 6 acts that purify the body should be kept secret, as they produce various wonderful results, and as such are held in high esteem by great yogins. So this is a book. This is a book that informs people. People are reading this. Here is an introduction of a technique, but then you are being told that it is actually a secret. Why is this? Why would this be a secret? If you are familiar with spiritual practices or traditional martial arts, you come across many secrets. They say, you know, we cannot teach you that yet. You are not advanced enough. You're still a beginner, or you're not at the right level yet. And it creates a veil of mystery and intrigue, but it's nonsense. You have to understand the time frame in which this text and many other esoteric texts were written. What is the purpose of yoga? The purpose of yoga is to empower people, and it really does. So, from that perspective, why would this need to be kept secret? Simply because you don't want to empower people who will then abuse their newly found abilities in a negative way, in an evil way. When you teach yoga properly, when you're properly initiated into yoga, you start with yama niyama for a reason. You don't start with asana, you don't start with meditation, you start with yama niyama. What are yama niyama? Moral principles. They become your guardrails within which you function. But if you're not properly initiated into yoga and you learn a technique that empowers you compared to the unconditioned people surrounding you, you rise above those people, and even in this time where many people are educated compared to when this book was written, there are many people who abuse their powers. There are many cults and sects where somebody who has a more than average intelligence, somebody who has often by birth a certain level of spirituality that other people are looking for, those people without proper training end up in a power game. They extract money from people that follow them, but I just finished watching a documentary about Korean cults, and every Korean cult there is sexual abuse, also physical abuse, even killings taking place. And it happens everywhere. There is also a movie, it's called Kumar. And that is a documentary made by an Indian guy. His ancestry is Indian, but he was born in Silicon Valley. He's an IT guy. But in a playful way, it was kind of a prank. He thought he wanted to see how far he could go. So he dressed up like a Swami with a traditional yogi dress and a turban around his head. He was born in America. He was fluent in American English, but he adopted a funny Indian accent to his English, and he started going around like a Swami. And it is just shocking how people started worshipping him. It's a very interesting documentary that you probably can find on YouTube. But he also investigates sects, all kinds of spiritual communities in the United States, and the ignorance is just shocking. It's just people who dress fancy, who adopt a fancy haircut, wear goat woolen socks and Birkenstock slippers and say funny things, and people start following them. I wear Birkenstock slippers too, by the way, but not to impress you in any way or so. They're just super comfortable. But I make that as a joke because when I was younger, Birkenstock slippers were worn by only two kinds of people: hippies and people working in healthcare. People who have to walk and stand on their feet all day. So, especially in hospitals. But now everybody has them. They are so popular these days. So, yeah, you teach people something that empowers them. You want them to be initiated properly, starting with a moral framework. Why is this important? Well, look at the next sutra. After 23 tells us that it must be a secret, Sutra 24 simply says, here Dhauti is described. Slowly swallow a wet piece of cloth 4 fingers broad and 15 spans long, according to the instructions of the Guru. Then draw it out again. This process is called Dhauti. Now, if I tell you that I have 3 rolls of pieces of cloth here, and I tell you to swallow it, would you do that? Yeah, but there are people who are fanatic and who believe in their teacher, their ignorant teacher, and they think that it's something they must do because it's mysterious and it's special and it's, well, you know, I want to reach higher levels of spirituality too. So I guess it's just something I have to do. But look, the previous sutra said this must be kept secret. Then do you think that the author in the next sutra is just going to tell you how it works? Of course not. And he explicitly says, Svatmarama explicitly says, according to the instructions of your guru. Hey, first of all holy books are written in symbolical language. No difference here. There are people who do this, literally, causing a lot of harm to their throat, the esophagus, also to the stomach. You let it soak in the stomach and you pull it out again. It removes the protective layer, the mucus that protects against the acids that are involved in the digestive process. So it's very harmful actually to do this literally. And in yoga, nothing is harmful. If your teacher tells you something that you already expect to be harmful, there's something wrong there. You must be skeptical and start asking questions. One of the things that happens, if you're not properly initiated, if you're initiated by a fraud teacher who tells you to do something like this, it is so disgusting and painful and totally weird to actually have to do this, you'll never come back to that teacher again. And also, you know, the teacher that tells you to do this never does it themselves. If you ask them why don't you do this, then they will say Sutra 21. If you are already full of energy and sattvic, you don't need to do this anymore. So I'm a master, I don't have to do this anymore. But you're only a beginner and your energy levels are too low, so you need to do this. That is the kind of answer that you then would get. This is a preparation for energy control. How is swallowing a piece of cloth going to help you to control your energy? It's not. That is simply the truth. It's not. If you read the other Kriya exercises, you will see that there is no coherence, there is no logic, there is no systematic build-up. But these 6 exercises prepare you for pranayama, energy control. And if you understand the language behind the symbolism, there is a very clever systematic way that helps you towards doing something that most people find very difficult. Controlling energy is something that most people don't believe in because you can't touch it, see it, feel it, smell it, taste it. So we work towards it in a very systematic way. If I had introduced this in the first lesson, you would have not come back anymore. Now you have been slowly but certainly prepared towards this. Let me draw one of my Picassos on the board. Not so bad today. Swallowing a piece of cloth. This is something that you do using imagination. You swallow a piece of cloth from the center of your head or the top of your head, through the throat, through the chest, to the stomach. And you pull it out again. You do this, normally we would do this after the asana, before the meditation. So you're in a contemplative mood, you sit down on your cushion after asana, eyes closed, and you start to play with energy. This is designed to familiarize us with energy. Yes?
When I was reading, previously suggested that you should imagine it. I was intuitively, immediately imagining it. And then I was asking to myself if my first kind of feeling was to feel that it was sort of stuck in my mouth. But then I thought, okay, if it is energy, it should flow. So my question is that how shall we try to do it? Like we think of something that is really like flowing, going slowly down, or that it gets stuck, or that it's too uncomfortable. So which will be like the thoughtful process?
For every person, this is different.
Okay.
It depends on your level of sensitivity that you already possess, but it's the very first time that we do this, and if you find it very difficult how to approach, you simply stick to the description, but figuratively. You imagine the piece of cloth going through the throat, the chest. What it is about is that your attention is on those levels. And back up again. You will start to see the logic and the systematic approach in these Kriya exercises when we do the second Kriya exercise, and even more so next week with the third and the fourth Kriya exercise. It's really marvelous, very ingenious how the ancient yogis put this together to help beginners make the change from the gross world of experience to the subtle world of experience. And the reason why in many professional yoga courses you actually learn to do this literally, and why breath pranayama is presented as breath control, is because no matter how high-level yogis those teachers are, they are doubting Thomases. It shows that, one, they have not been initiated into yoga properly, they have not contemplated the text and understood that there is a very clever meaning behind all this. Doubting Thomas does not believe in energy, but energy is very easy to recognize. And in our languages there are many expressions that relate to energy, we just don't see it. Your heart breaks is a phenomenon of energy. And it can be so strong that it actually kills you. So it's not subtle at all. And we have Muladhara chakra in the second session. The chakra at the bottom of the spine is related to excretion. What makes you go to the toilet? It's really energy that causes restlessness, that makes you get up and find the restroom. Since we are born with this, we don't notice it, we don't recognize it. But energy is right in front of our nose. It's so close that we can't see it. And this will help us on our path to seeing how it works. Everything in us actually functions based on this. So let's give this a try. Let's have this next sutra probably gives us some benefits of the exercise. It's always like that, introduction, and then the benefits. So 25, by the efficacy of Dhauti, bronchial diseases, asthma, plia, leprosy, and skin diseases, similar skin diseases, and 20 other diseases brought on by phlegm disappear. There is no doubt about this. These are all diseases are related to the buccal cavity, the throat, and the stomach. And diseases happen when there is energy lacking. So what happens when you concentrate on certain parts of the body? Energy increases. And logically, if there are any deficits, any diseases in those parts of the body, they will naturally heal if you increase the energy there. So it actually does lead to improvement of health. So let's try this. Before we do the concentration on nada, the question often arises, how long should we do this? This is just like asana. You explore Dhauti for as long as you feel attracted, for as long as you feel interest. When you lose interest, it is of no use to force yourself to continue doing Dhauti, because the intention is not there anymore, so it will not really work anymore. So explore it like a child, with the curiosity of a child. Play with that energy going down and going up. If you find it difficult at this point to focus on energy, simply imagine swallowing a piece of cloth and pulling it out again. Repeat it a couple of times, and when you have a feeling that you're done, then you're done, and you switch to concentration on nada for the rest of the time. Because we have Kriya now in addition to nada, the total time increases by 5 minutes to 20 minutes in total.